special Stephen King edition. Are you ready to get with the program? Okay, hi, I guess I need to do a little explaining here with this strange introduction. Yeah, it's still Missing Real, and it's sort of still about movies, but this time around, I'm going to talk about a couple of TV miniseries that were long enough to be movies, probably a little too long, like most things associated with Stephen King. And these are from the 90s. It's a pair of really good stories that were just a little bit off the wall, a little bit hokey, and suffered from the crappy production values and special effects limitations of the day. But yet still, because they were such memorable Stephen King stories that I loved in book form, and I have to just watch in TV versions, I want to talk about them now because I've watched them so many times. And if you've read these books, you've probably seen the movies too, and you might have felt the same way I did about them. They kind of sucked. But yet, I keep finding myself drawn back to them again and again just to keep watching for some inexplicable reason, which I'll try to suss out in the following hour or whatever of podcasting. So Stephen King, yeah, probably the best-selling author of all time, unless you count Bill Shakespeare, but yeah, I don't, and I'm not going to do any Shakespeare stuff on Missing Real. Sorry, I just don't have the iambic pentameter to put up with that kind of stuff. But here we are with some Stephen King stuff. We're going to start off with 1993's TV adaptation of The Tommyknockers. First off, what the fuck's a Tommyknocker? Is it a dude with breasts? Is it somebody who disparages the Who's rock opera? I don't know, but a Tommyknocker, as far as I could gather from the little bit of research that I did, was that it's some sort of a slang for an underground creature that menaces miners or some sort of ghost or somebody maybe who died in a cave-in and comes back to haunt the next people who start chiseling away with pickaxes and cause more avalanches. Not sure, but in any case, it's supposed to be some spooky little name for a monster that scares you, like the Boogeyman. I understand the Boogeyman makes sense, unless you're Casey and the Sunshine Band, which it's scary in a whole different way. So Tommyknockers, yeah. What would this story be about? Well, it's about this small town as usual with Stephen King, some kind of Maine place, Castle Rock, what have you. And there's all these people in the town, and this strange alien force emerges, is discovered underground, and it starts changing people and giving them ideas and IQs, and they invent stuff, and these inventions start to menace the townsfolk in different ways, and only one person is not affected by this because he's got a plate in his head, or at least a lick of sense. So our main star here in the Tommyknockers is Jimmy Smits. You probably remember Jimmy Smits from NYPD Blue. Whether or not he showed his ass crack, I don't recall. I never really watched the show, but I know it was infamous for ass cracks and unnecessary and unwelcome rear nudity from its, not always fit male actors. But what can I say? Dennis Franz, nice bum you got there, pal. So the Tommyknockers movie, it didn't require, a Francis Ford Coppola caliber director, of course. So we get this guy, John Power, which is a good name because there's a lot of power in the movie. This power from the alien thing underground. So John Power directed a lot of TV stuff, which suits him perfectly. He's a perfect choice for a TV Stephen King Tommyknockers. So there you go. He Tommy-knocked this one out of the park, I guess, right? To the best of his abilities. Okay, so we got Jimmy Smits. And you'll remember Jimmy Smits also, besides, I'm sorry, was it Oh my God, did I get it wrong? It wasn't NYPD Blue, was it? Maybe it was. It was LA Law. Well, whatever it was, I don't know. He was a cop. He played a cop. He was in Miami Vice. He was, of course, Bail Organa in the Star Wars prequels. And again in Obi-Wan, 20 years later, he came back and played Bail Organa again. Because, Princess Leia needed an adoptive pop. So that was him. That was his big claim to Star Wars, and I guess I'll be going then. Gets shot by Order 66 and, he was okay in Star Wars. I liked it. Yeah, he was there. Just because you're in Star Wars doesn't mean I instantly like you. Not everybody is great in Star Wars, but, Jimmy Smits is okay. He plays Guard. He's a writer, some sort of hack poet who had a big one-hit wonder poem, if they have those, Take On Me by a-ha. It would be like the poetry equivalent of that, even though a-ha is a really great band from Norway and you should listen to all their albums. All right, so Jimmy Smits is Guard, and then the other lead in this movie is Marg Helgenberger. Sounds German, or something you could get on a menu. She was in Bad Boys. She was in Species 1 and 2. She was in one of those CSI shows. as everybody is. CSI, NYPD, Blue LA Law, Forensic Files, all those investigational shows which just sort of blur together. I don't know which one is which is why Jimmy Smits may or may not have shown his ass in LA Law. I can't tell. Or NYPD. One of the coasts, one of those big cities on, the west or east coast, probably got a glimpse of Smits's crack, but we don't know. I don't remember. Don't quote me on that. All right, but Morgan Helgenberger plays Bobby, or Roberta, if we want to be whatever about it, not be binary. She's a girl, in this. I think she identifies as a female, even though her name is Bobby, and he's guard. He doesn't really guard anything, nor does he garden, but, his name is something Gardner. I don't even remember his first name. That's how big an imprint this movie left on me. But all right, we got Smits and Helgenberger there. But the one thing I do love about the Tommyknockers, if nothing else, is the music for it, composed by Christopher Frank, who is this German musician from the legendary electronic band Tangerine Dream, who I really loved back in the 80s and, the 70s era when they made great music, and before Chris Frank split from the group and they instantly started to fall into a decline, even though they still had, founding member Edgar Froese, who's also great. But Christopher Frank gave Tangerine Dream a lot of extra dream and tangerine fruitiness, and the music was much better when he was in the group because it was just more fantastical, and he has these little sound effects that he likes to use. But in the Tommyknockers, the music's very, very moody and atmospheric and very synthy, and it's not really ever been officially released on an album of any sort. But if you have an internet, you could probably find it somewhere and listen to it. So go right ahead, listen to it. It's good. If looking at the Tommyknockers is difficult, at least listening, it's very cool. The music's really spooky, creepy, spacey, and perfect, really, I think. I like it. God bless me. Chris Frank was great. We don't hear that much from him these days, but good music. All right, anyways, Jimmy Smits is running in slow motion through the woods, having a dream. The thing about Jimmy Smits is, again, he's a bad poet who got famous somehow, and he has a drinking problem. He hits the bottle a bit too much, and he always has these blackouts and stuff, which, kind of explains his being in this movie. But we have some other cool people in the movie, and some of them have been in King Productions as well. Mark Helgenberger was in Under the Dome, another King TV series based on a book, and I never actually finished watching the series, but I can't sit through 20, 30 episodes of this shit, even though it's probably interesting and better than the book was. So another cool actor we have here who's also in a legendary King movie is E.G. Marshall, old guy. He plays Ev Hillman. He's like the grandpa. His two grandsons love magic tricks and stuff, so he gets a magic kit for his grandson Hilly. So about E.G. Marshall, of course, he was the president in Superman 2. In General Zod, it's like, I see you all practicing worshipping things that fly. He was the president in Superman 2, and he was, of course, the best role ever. 1982 in Creepshow, he was Upson Pratt with the fucking roaches. He was infested. He had this immaculate apartment infested by cockroaches, and that was like the whole premise of that thing. It was like, how many roaches can we wrangle into one scene of this movie? And how disgusting can we get with roaches? He was like a very cantankerous old coot that had too much money and a very sterile apartment that didn't stay sterile for long. God bugs, Mr. Pratt. Yeah, remember that? That was great. I love that movie. So E.G. Marshall was great there. He's a little bit more subdued here. He doesn't say any cuss words because it's a TV movie, right? There's no cursing. There's really very minimal gore, of course, because it's TV. I don't know. This movie doesn't really need gore. The only bodily matter it could use is maybe some more brain cells or, something more intelligent about it. E.G. Marshall, he gets the magic kit for his grandkids, and they show these stupid tricks later on. The disappearing Hugh, whatever, the disappearing that. Hey, kid, you really want to do a good magic trick? Maybe you could make these fucking roaches disappear. But there aren't even any roaches in this movie, unfortunately. That would be a nice little, Easter egg / callback, but there ain't. All right, so who else is around? What do we got? We got a police station, okay? Got some cops. We got one of the cops, like the sheriff, whatever, is played by Joanna Cassidy, Blade Runner, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, stuff like that. She plays Ruth Merrill, and she has like this deputy dude here, Butch, who's kind of sweet on her, but she's been widowed for a few years. There's this puppy dog admiration. He's always like really hesitant. I'll buy you a bottle of soda pop. Well, nice to see you, Ruthie, and all that shit. He won't follow through. He's armed. He's got a gun, but he just can't draw. So anyway, they're the cops. They're supposed to restore law and order to this place when it gets all disorderly. And Joanna Cassidy, I don't know why, in her sheriff's police station there, has this entire room full of really creepy-ass dolls. So kids come in and they're looking around, and one of the dolls scares the kid because the kid hallucinates that the doll's coming to life, and mouth opens and all the strings start popping out of its face when it opens its mouth. That's a pretty cool effect there. I like that. That was good. But it doesn't really happen. It's just like a little cheap, spooky scare, for no reason at all. Except like, oh yeah, we're watching a Stephen King thing, so we have to get scared once in a while. And we kind of do. So then we see Bobby there, Mark Helgenberger typing, and she's a writer. She writes better shit probably than Smits, but she's got a dog there, and she takes her dog out to the woods, and when she's running around, with the dog playing fetch, she trips over something in the ground. Looks like a pipe. She starts digging out with her fingers. The dog is yipping and yapping, and while he's like sniffing around at the ground, this little green bad special effect zaps the dog in the eye. So the dog, from the beginning of the movie, we see the dog, he's got like a glazed over blind eye. So this dog gets zapped in the eye, and she doesn't really see what the hell happens, but later on you're going to see the dog starts getting his eyesight back, so he could watch this bad movie with us. Then we see Gardner. Oh, yeah, his name is James, I think. Jim or James. Isn't James Gardner or Garner some dude, some actor from Rockford Files? I don't know, whatever. So that's, Jimmy Smits goes to an AA meeting. Hi, my name's Jim, and I'm an alcoholic. Hi, Jim. You know how it goes, right? Yeah, you've been there. Yeah, So he tells his story. I'm a poet, and, I got this terrible stage fright, and blah, blah, blah. So he has to go read a poem at some, poetry convention or some big auditorium poetry slam thing, and his agent is there, this crusty old bitch, she's really mean, and she's like sarcastic and sardonic to him, and she thinks he's a hack, he's a washed up has-been, and he's gonna bring his poem out and read something to the crowd. Bobby brings her dog to the vet, and all the other dogs and parrots and snakes and lizards are all going crazy, an owl, a fucking cobra. Like, how many different pets do people have in this town? I think some of it, again, is hallucination, or I might have been taking something while watching it, I don't know, but I remember all that stuff. Okay, so we go to the poetry recital. The agent is there standing off stage, staring daggers at him, there's no blood. So he's like, I thought I might be a little bit risky tonight and try something different. I was going to read my new thing, but instead I think I'll... So he's reading this old-ass poem called One More Mile. And it's like lyrics to a really cheesy bad song. Air Supply would like puke at it. So it's this really boring poem, and through all the misforgotten yesterdays and moments and questions without answers, blah, 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 and then we turned to the fields that spread out before us. Blah, blah, blah. And he goes on and on. They keep cutting to these people in the audience, and they all start holding hands and shit. Like, this is the most romantic thing they've ever heard. And probably some of them are fans. Some of them probably got Guard's greatest hits somewhere, in their bookshelf. So he's reading this. This is like his fucking, this is his free bird. When you pull this shit out, the crowd goes wild, or they sit politely and cuddly. So this is what they're doing. And at the end, someone stands up, starts clapping, really loud. He gets a fucking standing O for this thing. And he takes his bows, and his agent is scowling at him. Because, he just pulled out the shit. Don't you write any new songs? No, you're just going to play that one, right? Yeah, you're just going to dig out the old friggin' surefire hit from the 80s. Yeah, okay. And he starts drinking again. Even though he's supposed to be on the wagon, he starts drinking again. There's a bartender there. Just get some tonic water. And then after he has this little altercation with the agent there, he's like, you know what? Could you put a little vodka in that? And you know what? Why don't you hold the water? And eventually, he's getting sloshed, within minutes. He's sloshed. What's that guy's name? Mr. Argle Bargle? What's the name you make when you gargle? He's making fun of the guy's name with the bartender. He pours a drink down his agent's blouse. That's great. And he gets punched out by somebody. And then he walks to a door that's not really a door. It's like a second-story or third-story window. He goes, God hates a coward. He falls off the damn building, falls out, lands in the bushes outside or something like that. I don't know. It's so stupid. He's a lush. We have no sympathy for this character whatsoever so far, because he can't write his new poems. He plays his old shit. I don't like him. He's not that great character. Not even as heroic as Bail Organa adopting a baby girl. It's not even that good. I don't know, but we'll see. Maybe he'll redeem himself by the end of this shit. Wakes up on a sandy pier. What the hell did I do this time? And he hitches a ride to this farm to go visit Bobby, because they're kind of like old flames or sort of boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. They have a history. That's all I know. So now we're going to see, the postman there is fooling around with the post lady. Now, the postman is married, okay? Let's try to get this all done here. All right, so Joe Paulson is played by Cliff DeYoung. So he's Joe Paulson, he's just a guy. But the postal mistress, whatever you call her, is played by porn legend Tracy Lords. And from the minute you see her, with the camera panning up her legs there, she's a slut. I'm sure she's gone straight at this point. She's doing proper acting roles which do not require her to disrobe. But basically her only purpose in this movie is to have sex until she gets her space age lipstick thingy that zaps people with a laser. But in the meanwhile, she's a slut. And she's fooling around with this post guy. I don't know why, but maybe because he doesn't really like having sex with his wife, because his wife is played by the somewhat less pornographically satisfying Alice Beasley, who was on Moonlighting in the 80s with Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis there, and the former wife of Vincent Schiavelli. She's only slightly more pretty than he was. But anyhow, she's the wifey, She's like the poor wife who does almost anything for her husband. Is like, yeah, I'll be working late today. I'm sorry, I got a lot of extra hours. I'm going on a fishing trip. She packs him his lunch, does everything, make sure, oh, you forgot your lunch bags. She's like a doting mommy. He's like, all right, I'll be home late, sweetheart. And then, of course, he doesn't come back with any fish, but he did catch something a little bit fishy on the trip. So he goes cheating with Tracy Lords. And she's like so libidinous. She's so like, she can hardly wait for it. You got something in your pants here for me. She's probably just rehashing all of her old lines from the porno movies. Because, all right, it's a long stretch to do this. But Tracy Lords, let's give it up for her, okay? Everything on your VHS shelf has probably got her in it. And, she did some great stuff. She did movies. She did a movie called Adventures of Tracy Dick, The Case of the Missing Stiff. I guess it's a detective movie. Yeah, but then she was on regular TV stuff, like Wise Guy in the 80s. She was on an episode of The Highlander show. Probably want to see who had the longest sword. And then there's a movie called Point of Entry, which, surprisingly, not a porn. And then she was in Zack and Miri Make a Porno. I guess, she was the technical advisor on that somehow. But the coolest thing about Tracy Lords, I guess, if it's cool, besides, the sex thing, is she recorded an album in 1995 called 1,000 Fires. And I'm sure, 1,000 is being modest, as far as fires, probably like a code word for something else. And then she did an excellent duet with the Manic Street Preachers in 92 on Little Baby Nothing, a cool song, probably hearing it in the background right now. So that's great. So she could do a lot of other cool things with her mouth. Sometimes good singing comes out of it instead of other things going into it. But all right, that's it. Tracy Lords, yes. All right, so she's good in this movie, but she just serves as like the sex relief, instead of comedy relief. All right, so they're fooling around the fishing trip. He comes home with no fish. The dig site where Bobby is digging, and she's like getting stoned from whatever the hell is coming out of the ground. Maybe somebody buried, some pot or some LSD or some coke is mixed in with the soil. I'm not really sure, but she's getting high and getting all these ideas. She doesn't want to sleep anymore, and everything glows green in the dark. So now when Guard goes there to check it out, he gets a headache because the plate in his head, he must have gotten like a head injury or a poetry injury. I don't know, maybe he stuck himself with a pen and he had to have like emergency surgery and get a plate stuck in his skull. So then he's not affected by this green magical light shit, whatever it is. But he's like, okay, Bobby, whatever, that's good. Where's your alcohol? So she's hiding all the alcohol. I don't think there is any alcohol in the cabin that they have there, but he finds some later on because he's a recovering alcoholic and he's not recovering very well. So this shit's all glow in the dark. The little kid there, Hilly, is talking to something in his bedroom in the middle of the night. Yeah, really? That's what I have to do? Okay, yeah. And his brother wakes up, what are you talking to? Go back to sleep. Then Guard and Bobby have sex and her eyes start glowing green. I guess that's a good sign she's not faking it. I don't know. And all these inventions start popping up around town and people are buying batteries left and right, selling out. There's like this mail sorting machine that just shoots the envelopes into the different slots. All right, they go more jobs, I guess. Other things getting shoved into slots as well with these postal workers there. And Joe and Becca, Joe and his wife there that he doesn't want to have as a wife are watching TV, having dinner, and he storms out for one little stupid thing, and then the game show host on the TV show starts talking to Becca, like actually interacting with her. And this storyline is supposedly cribbed from some Outer Limits episode from the 90s, but this talk show host kind of suggests to Becca, maybe you should kill him. He's cheating on you. He's fooling around with that hussy over at the post office. I knew it. What do you expect, It's Tracy Lords. Surprised she's not licking everybody's stamps. But she confers with this game show host guy on TV who really shouldn't be talking to her, but he is. It's probably just that green light from the ground is affecting everybody. There's no real explanation why this shit is happening. It just does. Ask Stephen King if you can. So then there's the kid's birthday. Hilly does this little magic show. He puts his brother underneath the sheet, and he's pumping this little pedal underneath the table. The green light comes on, and the sheet drops down, and there's no kid under it anymore. Okay, all right, come on, let's go have the cake now. Wait, but no, I'm not finished with my trick yet. I gotta bring him back. Presto, changeo, reverso, Invictus, whatever those Harry Potter things are. Vociferous, pontiferous, indigenous, nothing works. Everything he says. Clitoris, nothing. Can't get the kid to come back. So the kid's lost, like, come on, where's your brother? And then E.G. Marshall's like, come on, what'd you do with the kid? I hate magic. I hate you too. Oh boy, so now they've got a dysfunctional family. Grandpa's in the dumps now because he feels he's responsible for turning the kid on to magic. But he's not the one who brought the Tommyknockers or the green light from the ground. It's not his fault, man. So everyone's upset. The kid's missing. They start this big search. Joanna Cassidy's rallying up every deputy and volunteer she can. Just search for this kid. Joanna Cassidy finds her way onto the little dig site that Mark Helgenberger is digging away at, and the dog starts barking like crazy. Whoa, Petey, calm down. What's going on? He's acting like a regular cujo. Wink, wink. Stephen King fans. So then Bobby has this automatic typewriter going so she could just dig all day. And the book that she's writing basically writes itself. All these little like contraptions that look like they're just put together with batteries, wires, and popsicle sticks. Everybody builds things that make their lives easier. And then their teeth start falling out. Nobody decided to make like a magical electric toothbrush that brushes your teeth all over wherever you go. Just follows you around and brushes your teeth for you. Just stick it on your chin. Maybe you could just like do like one of those little headset things, except it has a toothbrush on it. It's just like that'd be great. But nobody thought to fucking invent that. No, that would have helped. So not a lot of people are going to be smiling in the rest of this movie. And when they do, that's where the real horror comes in because they got no teeth. It's the price you pay for being, Nikola Tesla or whatever overnight. Okay, so when Joe, the cheating husband, comes back home to TV and the game show is on and Becca is there kind of being quiet for once, he's like, can we take this show off? I don't like this show. Can you change it? Why don't you get up and change it yourself? Yo, Belden! What's got it into you? It's more like, what has he gotten into? So he goes up to the TV to change the channel himself. This is like probably in the era before remote controls, or they just don't have sophisticated shit in this town. So he's getting up to the TV to twist the knob. Yes, you actually had to do this back then. When was this, like 1993? Gosh, I thought we had remote controls by then. But anyway, Joe Paulson's a cheap bastard, or he works at the post office, is not getting paid in anything but pussy. I don't know. He goes up to change the channel. He's about to touch the TV. The game show host stops talking. He's like looking out the screen, which is kind of eerie. I like that. He touches the TV and gets electrocuted. Bad special effects ensue. And he falls down. And Becca just looks a tiny bit remorseful. She's like, Joe. And that was her invention, I guess. She didn't really invent anything. I mean, she just kind of like booby-trapped the TV, I guess. She just put a couple of capacitors in the back of it or whatever. I don't know. There was times I would just touch my TV and get a shock. Like, Had nothing to do with Tommyknockers, but just like, static electricity walking across the carpet. That's why you got to use a remote control. Much safer. Okay, so Joe Paulson is dead. And now the kid, Hilly, hears Davy's voice somewhere coming out of the ether. His little brother that got disappeared. And he faints. And he's in a hospital. Like, he's sort of in a coma. And he's mumbling. And everyone starts mumbling. Tommyknockers knocking at the door. This dumb poem or sing-song nursery rhyme about the Tommyknockers that nobody knows. No one's ever heard this fucking thing. But in this story, everyone's singing it and mumbling it. And Becca is in an insane asylum in a straitjacket in a bed in a padded room. Tommyknockers knocking at the door. Alright, fuck that. Let's just listen to Tommy. We're much better. There's this big 4th of July thing and all the fireworks turn green and everyone's staring up into space and Jimmy Smits is looking at him like, we're a bunch of idiots. And he's just looking for the next bottle he could drink from. So part 1 ends and everything's glowing green. Like, woo, are we going to stick around for night 2? Because this was a 2-night miniseries. Sorry, here comes night 2. Let's just get straight to it, right? Stop wasting time. So we see Robert Carradine in the movie here. He's just some schmuck dad of some kids. I think he's the dad of the disappeared little boy. He doesn't really care, though. He works at a deli, and he makes some sandwich mustard applying machine, whatever the fuck that thing is. He's useless, too. Not nearly as cool as David Carradine or, John Carradine. Just the family is, like, uneven, kind of like the Baldwins, Or maybe like the Wahlbergs. I don't know. Things like that, but... Alright, he's Robert Carradine. Oh, he's actually the half-brother of David Carradine, which is good enough. It's pretty impressive already, at least half impressive. And he actually showed up in a Kung Fu episode in the 70s. And he's in Revenge of the Nerds, which is kind of like what he still appears to be here. He's Robert Carradine, man. There's mind reading. Now, like whenever someone comes to the post office, Tracy Lords is there. What's going on? Why's all the mail backed up? We've been real busy since Joe died. And, she's reading everyone's mind. Oh, you're just going to Missouri? Okay, let's do it first class. Oh, you want to fuck me? But she doesn't say that to anyone. That would be the most obvious thing, that she could read your mind. Like, oh, you want to do that position? You'd love that, wouldn't you? Oh, yeah, no, that wasn't such a great film. The production was very, very grueling on that. The DP was horrible. We had to fire him. So yeah, she's reading people's minds at the post office, and Jimmy Smits walks in. I don't get it. You're kidding. I can't read you. There's nothing. Well, must be this metal plate in my head, or the bottle of Jack Daniels, one or the other. So she can't read Jim. He goes to visit Mark Helgenberger, and she's all crying. Pete, he died. Your dog died? I thought he was getting his eyesight back. What's going on? I don't know, radiation. But she's like, I already buried him. So we're a little bit suspicious. What the fuck happened with this dog? Turns out later on, you're going to find out what happens with the dog. But I ain't going to tell you yet. Spoiler alert. All right, so Bobby's having like a breakdown, and the typewriter's going crazy. And then Jimmy Smits is like losing his shit now. He can't handle the stress. He doesn't know what's going on with Bobby. She's all sweaty, teeth falling out, not having good sex with him anymore. So like, he's about to open up a bottle, and he pours it down the sink, because he was hiding it in the cabinet there. Probably wasn't a good label anyway. So he dumps that, and then the sheriff, there, Ruthie Merrill, there, comes back to the site because she's concerned. She's getting so suspicious. She knows something wrong is going on. By the way, let's get to the quick little love story shit before it's too late, because we're about to lose one of our characters here. Butch. Butch is the deputy guy who's like, he really likes her. He professes his love for her. I could never hold a candle to your ex-husband, but he's been gone 5 years now, and I love you for all I'm worth. And besides, you were in Blade Runner. She's like, yes, I will. All right, so she's going to marry this chump at some point. But before she can, she's talking on the phone, and something snips the phone line. This is back when phones had wires for all you young'uns, for all you Gen Xers or Gen Zs, or whatever the hell you call you millennials out there. Phones had wires. When you say wireless, it's because they used to have wires attached to them. And you can cut the wire. You can cut the line. Every time it's like a killer, like the slasher movies where the babysitter's in the house, and then she's on the phone, all of a sudden it's like, she's pressing the button on the thing, the receiver. It's because somebody cut the line outside. There were cables, wires that you could cut. It wasn't like, I don't have any Wi-Fi, or what's the password? No, they would cut the fucking wires, and you couldn't talk to anybody without a wire. You have to climb up one of those like wooden poles, and like when you would hotwire a car back in the day. It's like, oh my god, this digital shit. You don't know how tough we had it back then. And the characters in this movie. So anyway, Joanna Cassidy, there, sheriff girl, she gets her wires snipped, and who snipped the wire? Oh my god, it was one of her little dolls. It's standing on the ground there with a pair of scissors in his hand, and then another doll comes over and ties her shoelaces together, and she trips and bonks her head, and all these dolls are coming at her and attacking her with little knives. They start killing her, and they murder her. You get killed by your own collection, man. Horrible. She's dead. That was a good scene, actually. I like that. But it's not very bloody or anything like that. All the dolls disappear. It's like there's no suspects. The wounds were very, very small. Like, a doll-sized knife. They get like a little tiny Ziploc bag, like an inch square, to put the evidence in, but they can't even find a murder weapon. I don't buy that shit. I don't know how these little dolls killed her, but whatever. They did. Tracy Lords goes to the cemetery there, and she's all dressed up, and she says goodbye to Joe. I'm sure she'll find a better stiff to fool around with. She's got her lipstick ray now. If she opens up the lipstick, a laser shoots out, and she can disintegrate things and people. That's her invention. I would hide my invention somewhere else, and you could disintegrate down there. Whatever comes through that door ain't coming back out. But that's just pornographic. My dirty, get my mind out of the gutter. Okay. So Butch is the only one left of the police force really that's worth a shit. So he goes to Bobby's with the news, and Robert Carradine is like a little bit drunk and talking to guard. Pull up a chair, come on, shoot a pickle. Making all this dumbass dialogue that means absolutely nothing. Guard is drunk, and they go to this gazebo at the town hall, and we have Bobby there preaching to the masses now like she's in charge of them. She's their leader. One voice. And they want to just change everything. They want to become. It's called becoming. Whereas before it was just coming with Tracy Lords, but now everyone's becoming, because we have to clean this act up. So we're becoming, but Guard hasn't become. What about your man? He hasn't changed yet. He will. He's just a bad poet. Give him time. They see him, they're all chasing him. He's like driving away, and then all of a sudden this green light comes out of his car. It's not the old style radio, it's just really that Tommyknocker power shit. And it stalls his car. He goes to the town limit, he can't get past it as some stupid force field pops up. Sorry, yeah, Robert Carradine has a gun now. Tracy Lords comes along. Oh, you got a firm grip. So everything has like a metaphor or a double entendre with a gun and things like that. I like a man who knows what he's doing and all that shit. There's nothing, I don't think they had to write any lines for like, just grab all your old scripts from the pornos and just say some shit. We'll just edit it in post and make it sensible at the end. E.G. Marshall's at the library reading up on stuff. Oh, the woods are cursed. It was the Micmac Indians or some shit. Some little reference to Pet Sematary, which is great. You reference all these much better Stephen King stories just to remind you that sometimes Stephen King shit is good. And we're watching this one instead. For 2 nights. So the town is deserted, man, and what's left of the police force gets killed. This old dude at the gas station there sees Butch going to the Coke machine, because he always loves to get his bottle of Coke, but this time the machine won't let it out, and he's pulling and pulling, and like the machine starts overheating. I think it's gonna blow! And he dies for a bottle of Coke. Classic Coke, but still, it's not worth it. Not worth it. Because that shit blows up. Somebody rigged it or whatever. I think it's probably the people from Pepsi who were behind that one. So now we're at the dig site, and everybody's digging. The whole town's got to dig the rest of this shit up, because underneath the ground there's like all these silver bumps. It looks like little steps and bumps and things. We don't know what the hell it is. Like a temple of some sort made out of nickel or whatever the hell it's made out of. Some strange metal that resonates and makes all these noises. So Ev Hillman here, E.G. Marshall shows up. He's like, what's going on around here? He's like the last innocent person besides Smits who's digging. So Bobby goes, I'll show you, I'll explain everything, come on. She takes him to the shed, and he doesn't come out of the shed. Eventually, they're going to shed some light on what the hell's going on in this damn movie. Now it's nighttime. Jimmy Smits sneaks out. He's actually cleverly pulled one of his own teeth out with a wrench or something. It's like he could show Bobby, see, I got a visit from the tooth fairy. I guess it's happening. I guess I'm becoming. Which is great, because, he could fake it. But meanwhile, Mark Helgenberger there is looking very, very pale and waxy, and her skin is starting to flake off on her back. It's kind of icky. So whatever this Tommyknocker shit is, it's not good for the old sex appeal. But she still wants to have sex. Hey, just because you haven't become doesn't mean I don't want you. So they still have sex. But, we feel worried about Mark Helgenberger, because she might die if this green Tommyknocker thing, knocks her. Whatever it does. Alright, so Guard sneaks out at night, gets the key to the shed, and he goes inside, and he finds this glowing shit is inside. And in the shed, we see the dog hanging in midair, suspended, like pedaling a little bit, like he's running on a battery. And we see, E.G. Marshall, too, is inside this little glass case, thankfully free of cockroaches, with all this, crystally shit stuck on his face. But he's hooked up to some shit, too. We don't know if he's alive or dead. They're just using people as batteries. That's what these aliens that we still haven't seen yet are doing to the people. They use them as batteries. Alright, so anyway, Jimmy Smits sees that shit in there, and what the fuck is this? Goes back out. He's trying not to let on that he knows anything to Bobby, but then they dig one more time. No one else is there. I guess everyone went back to sleep to rest, so they find this hatch, or whatever the hell it is. And then John Locke is there. We have to open it. And Hugo's like, the numbers are bad. Oh, it's a different hatch, but same concept. They gotta know what the hell's inside. So they stand there, and while they're standing there, all of a sudden, it becomes an elevator. They just start going down, and all of a sudden, the whole scene changes. It's like an alien spaceship. It's kind of dark and cavernous, and grooves on the ground. It's like, somebody did a really lazy H.R. Giger-inspired design work and made these ramps and hallways and doorways that open up very, very science fiction-y. It's cool. I like it. The production's not bad. And then they see the control room, and they're all dead. They see these dead aliens. These just really tall, long-headed things. And they see Davy. They find the little brother Davy there. Wherever the power source is supposed to be, there's a little glass case and all that crystal-y shit, and there's Davy. He's stuck inside there. And then Guard lets slip out, just like the shed. And she's like, huh? What about the shed? You've been in there. You're snooping around. And she gets angry, and they start fighting. She picks up this alien weapon. It looks like a batleth or whatever the hell it is, like the Klingons would use, and starts slashing at him. And, she's going crazy. And he gets her calmed, and then the damn Tommyknockers show up, the whatever the hell you call them, the aliens, big, tall, creepy, long-faced guys, rubber suits. They look okay. It's just they shoot them a certain way so they look scary. But they're really probably not. Big, tall, stretched out E.T. I don't know what they are. They just look stupid. But they're the monsters. That's what we've been waiting for. But only like one or two of them was alive and barely moving around. So Bobby gets restored. She goes back up on the elevator. And, Guard, he just sends her back up. And he has I know what I have to do. God hates a coward and all that crap. His catchphrase there. What we really hate is cheesy special effects. So he hooks himself into this little dish. He lies up against a dish. And there's this little headset thing that you can control the ship with your mind. So it drills these two little things into the side of his head. It looks extremely painful until the next shot, when you don't even see them in his head. They're just barely touching his temple, but they're supposed to be plugged into his fucking brain. Yeah, nice special effects, man. Couldn't they do a little bit better, a little more convincing? Because every time he tilts his head, you could see it's not penetrating the skin at all. I mean, in the 70s, Steve Martin had that arrow through the head prop, probably cost $1. Way more convincing than this shit. You should have just brought him onto the set. Well, excuse me, sang King Tut, and that's it. You would have fixed the end of this movie perfectly, but he doesn't. And we have to put up with this crap. So somehow Guard is telepathically controlling the ship, and he makes it lift up out of the ground, and everybody gets out of the way because the whole dig site is going to... We don't really see much of the special effect, because one shot looks like the ground is trembling, and then in the very next shot, you see a way, way up in outer space, a tiny little model of this stupid ship. Probably could fit in the palm of your hand. He's up in space now, and he self-destructs the shit, blows up. Bobby's like, no! And everybody else gets free earlier. Yeah, Tracy Lords was chasing Bobby through the shed. And, E.G. Marshall comes back to life just for a second to, Vulcan neck pinch Tracy Lords or grope her. Dirty old man, whatever. He tries to grope her and, she dies or he chokes her somehow. And he dies too, I guess, because his batteries ran out. But at least, I got my hands on Tracy Lords before I bought it. It makes up for all the roaches you had to step on. Alright, so then Bobby, she's okay. Everybody's stupid trance ends now that the ship blows up and the Tommyknockers no longer have any influence on anybody, including us viewers. Yeah, that's it. I don't think Stephen King was really crazy about this movie, probably because the special effects weren't that great, or maybe because the ending sucked. But what can you do? It's a hit and miss with these King things. It's like they don't make that many of them anymore because probably all these damn television misfires. But sometimes they get it right. Sometimes they do it justice. I mean, the story itself's a bit hokey. So, I mean, I can still recommend it for some pretty good casting, interesting characters you'll see there, and the music. Yeah, the music was good. Okay, let's jump ahead a couple of years now to 1995 when we got the television version of Stephen King's novella, The Langoliers. This came from a collection of short stories called 4 Past Midnight in 1990, and it was a pretty good set of stories. I love Stephen King short stories because at least if they suck at the end, it didn't take that much time to get there. You didn't waste that much of your life. So The Langoliers was actually, I thought, a pretty brilliant concept, which if it was just executed properly wouldn't have sucked so badly as a TV miniseries, or if it was made maybe 10 years later. So anyway, 1995, this is what we got. It's mostly based on an airplane and in an airport, but it's not anywhere near as good as Die Hard 2 or Passenger 57 or any of those movies. It's just The Langoliers. And now again, the fuck's a Langolier? I don't know. I'm not sure if you can find it in a dictionary. I'm not going to bother looking it up. It's just the Langoliers are these creatures that will come and get you if you're lazy, according to the father of one of the characters in this movie, which we'll get into all this crap because it's kind of stupid, but it's also got a brilliant idea beneath it, which I think was great. Very clever. It's about, what happens to time when it becomes the past. Like, where does it go? What becomes of it, and what are the dynamics of that? It's really more sci-fi than horror. It's supposed to be scary at some point, the fate of the characters or, the monsters that turn up, but, the most horrible thing is how bad they look. So it opens at LAX, that cool, iconic airport, and we got somebody in a suit, a business guy, in a big rush being chased. Mr. Toomey! Mr. Toomey! And we see Bronson Pinchot, who's, probably the most fun character in this whole damn movie. You'll know Bronson Pinchot if you ever watched Perfect Strangers in the 80s, and Risky Business, his first movie, Beverly Hills Cop, where he was Serge, and True Romance, where he was Elliot Blitzer. A great role for this guy, where he just pulls out all the stops and just loses his mind, and he's hilarious, and he's great. So in this movie, of course, he has to be completely unstrung and batshit crazy and stressed out. And right from the beginning, he looks like he's not sleeping or he's on some crazy drugs. His eyes are all bloodshot and bulging. And, Mr. Toomey, it looks like you didn't save the company $20 billion. You lost it. I know. That's why I have to get out of here and take this flight to Boston. I did it on purpose. And he's going crazy. Like, right from the start, he's got a few screws loose. But that's great, because he's going to get on a plane, and nothing possibly can go wrong at that point. All right, so we see Captain Angle, who's played by David Morse. Good actor in a lot of great movies like 12 Monkeys, and The Rock, and Extreme Measures, and The Green Mile. Hearts in Atlantis. That was another King movie, and he's in. There's a lot of King connections. Got to keep using the same actors. So The Langoliers, all right, let's try to give credit or blame. It was directed by Tom Holland. No, not Spider-Man. Not that Tom Holland. No, an older one, who directed the 85 Fright Night and Child's Play in 88, and then the King movie Thinner in 96. So, yeah, pretty good. I liked those movies. Yeah, they were good. Better than The Langoliers, for sure. But The Langoliers are here, or they're coming, so let's talk about them, and let's see what the fuck's going on, and if this is worth watching it at all, or I could spoil the whole thing for you right now and save you the trouble. But we have some good cast members in here, and we have some boring ones that I don't like. What are you going to do? It's an ensemble. Even though most of the characters in the movie disappear in the beginning, the entire flight of passengers mostly just vanishes inexplicably, when they're flying. All right, so Captain Angle here, he's supposed to be flying the plane, but instead, because he just hears of some tragic news, his ex-wife died or whatever, he's not going to have to sit in the pilot's seat, but we'll just stick you in coach. How's that? You fly in coach, and we're going to just take you back home to Boston or whatever. They're going to Boston, all right, hopefully. And then there's this little blind girl who's always making these observations, and even though she's not seeing anything, but that man has something wrong with him. And she's got all this psychic power. As usual with the King movies, there's always got to be some crazy kid with powers, and more often than not, the kid is fucking annoying, as is this one. But anyway, we have to put up with her for a while. We got this British guy, Nick Hopewell, who's played by Mark Lindsay Chapman, who you might have caught for a few seconds in Titanic, and he was in this really crappy TV Terminator ripoff movie called Annihilator, which I liked a lot, but good luck trying to find it. But it was okay, and he's very, very British, jolly good. He has a sordid past working with the MI6 or some other shady operation where you have a license to kill and you don't have to explain it. But he's on a plane too, and luckily he's not going to be a terrorist. He's going to probably save the day, if there is a day to save, even though it's night. And we have some writer guy played by Dean Stockwell, Bob Jenkins. Again, there's always a character who's a writer, and King usually likes to stick one of them in his movies or stories just to anchor it and give us a little basis, at least for him to identify with, even though we can't. I don't know if he's a best-selling author. Well, I write mysteries, my dear. Dean Stockwell doing his Dean Stockwell shit. He's very, very condescending, but he's also giving us all the exposition we need for this entire movie. Yeah, I have a bit of a sore throat, but I think it's really working in my favor to do this Dean Stockwell voice, so I'm going to just keep going with it, man. Alright, so there's a bunch of people on the plane. Not many of them are cool. There's this school teacher, Laurel, played by Patricia Wettig, this sort of ordinary-looking blonde. She was in some TV shows, and she was in City Slickers, and I don't know what else, and I'm not really looking for her anywhere else either. She's kind of boring. Not a very fetching or interesting or exciting character. She's just like, very weak and lame. Has to be saved, probably. Alright, so the plane is flying, right? We have Craig Toomey there, Bronson Pinchot, so he's all stressed out, and he's tearing paper. He's all stressed out. He tears paper a lot. We're gonna see all this shit later on. Okay, so now there's this cool cut where Dinah, the little blind girl, wakes up. She's feeling around for Aunt Vicky. And she's feeling the seat next to her, and she doesn't feel anybody in the seat. And she's like, hello, will somebody please speak to me? And nobody speaks to her. Big surprise. And then she feels like these metal things on the seat. Like, what the hell is this shit? Tooth fillings and braces and pins all over the plane on some seats. Like, it's almost empty now. There's a few passengers left, but most of the seats are empty. Great, I could spread out and sleep. These shitty-ass coach seats barely got any leg room. So she's like, yeah. Pinchot's like, will somebody please shut that brat up? And then Laurel goes over, what's the matter, honey? It's my Aunt Vicky. She's gone. Where is everybody? Oh, there's nothing wrong, dear. Everything's just... Oh. Yeah, she looks around. She's, oh, yeah, the whole fucking plane is empty. Duh. Yeah, didn't you notice that? Did you notice there's no stewardess bringing you peanuts or anything? So the plane's almost empty, and there's all this metallic shit, watches, things that are supposed to be inside you, maybe IUDs. I'm not sure. They find all kinds of shit on the seats. Pins, metal limbs, I don't know, like Terminator hands. If there was a cyborg on board, that would be on the seat, because everything that was flesh and blood just vanished, except for these people. We don't know why these particular people are here and everyone else just vanished. Maybe they sprung a few extra bucks for the extra leg room or the, premium flight perks. Don't know. But they're here. They're all confused. They don't know what the fuck's going on. And they knock on the pilot's door. Anybody in there? Nobody answers. Who's flying the plane? Nobody knows. They think everybody vanishes, and they really drag this shit out. I mean, this movie takes its sweet-ass time getting to anything, like when people decide what they want to do, and there's a lot of shots of Bronson Pinchot just looking really, really impatient before he blows up and starts yelling and going crazy every few minutes. I'm supposed to be in Boston. That's where I want to go. Sir, would you please keep your voice down? You're scaring the little girl. Scaring the little girl? Scaring the little girl? And then the British dude grabs his nose and... Wow, nose hold. I'll break it. Easiest thing in the world, mate, believe me. Now, would you favour me with a thumbs up if you'll be cooperating and quiet? And if you do not, you shall be exploring heretofore unexplored realms of pain. He has these good dialogues and things. He speaks very well. It's like somebody wrote these lines for him really well. So he finally lets him go. He's like... There's a little bit of blood trickling out of his nose. He's about to say something. Don't do it, buddy. We have a few other people on the plane. I don't know, there's Frankie Faison playing Don Gaffney. He's a cool dude. He was in Cat People, Chud, Exterminator 2, Coming to America, Do the Right Thing, Silence of the Lambs, Free Jack. He's in Hannibal, Red Dragon, playing Barney. Yeah, he's Barney from Silence of the Lambs. And he's in The Wire. Good actor. He's in a lot of great shit. So we like him. There's some chick named Bethany Sims, the character, which is a tribute to author Robert McCammon, who has a book called Bethany's Sin that King must have read and liked and could have picked up a few points from, because I used to think McCammon was like a much better King when he was writing his grade A horror books back in the day. You should check him out. Try to read some good Robert McCammon books like Swan Song or They Thirst or The Wolf's Hour. He had it going on for a while too, and he was like a rival to King, but I guess like these writers like each other, and he paid some tribute to him in some way, which is great. But the character is kind of forgettable. She's pretty, and there's some dude... Christopher Collett. I forgot what his damn character's name is. It was like Herbert or Barney or Alfred or, some nerdy name or some educated kind of guy's name. And he plays like a trumpet or violin. He's a musician, but he's not like some cool Jerry Cantrell dude with an electric guitar. He's just like, this is my viola. So he goes to music school and he likes Beethoven and Chopin and things like that. But the chick seems impressed, even though she looks like she'd be more into like Four Non-Blondes. She kind of looks like the singer from Four Non-Blondes. A lot of useless throwaway sides here. I know. But you know what? I gotta fill up the space because Langoliers really does fucking drag. Takes its sweet time for like 2 nights again, just like the Tommyknockers. But at least the Tommyknockers had more things going on. But this one's very intriguing. I mean, there's a lot of like concept and plot going on here if we could just get to it. All right, so nobody's flying a plane. Indiana Jones would know what to do. But instead, we have David Morse, Captain Angle. Oh, I'm a pilot. I mean, I'm off duty right now, but I suppose I should get the fuck up there and fly this plane, right? He's always very, very calm and soft-spoken. David Morse never seems to lose his shit at all, unlike Craig Toomey. All right, I'll try to call up somebody on the radio. That dog won't bark. That dog won't bark either. What's it with the barking dogs? What are you talking about? So they're asking like, excuse me, Captain Angle, what do you mean that dog won't bark. Well, you're a writer. Aren't you supposed to come up with all these clever metaphors, too? It means nobody's answering, and they should. This tower should be answering. And Bangor International Airport, they should be answering, but they're not answering. I know what's going on. There's nobody down there. They gotta land, so they go through the cloud cover. Laurel's like, it's all there, it's fine. Is it gonna be all right? It's all there. And Dean Stockwell's like, Miss, I'm sorry, but you're completely wrong. I want to go to Boston. I bought a ticket for Boston, and Boston is where I like to get. All right, we're going to try to land, because otherwise we're going to run out of fuel. All right, good thinking there, Captain. Let's land and see if there's any fuel or land to land on. And then Craig Toomey there, the people start talking to him, but he's like zoning out. He's hearing he has like these flashbacks to his father, who's always like, yelling at him and telling him he's a lazy piece of shit, he needs to move, and stop wasting time! All right, so they land, and they figure out, why are we here and everyone else is not here? Like, well, what were you doing, right? What was the last thing you remember? Like, I fell asleep. So these people all fell asleep on the flight, and they're here now. I guess if you were awake, you disappeared, and maybe you would have been awake to see what made you disappear, but since you disappeared, you can't tell the people who stayed here what made them disappear and what to do about it. So it's a really confounding kind of plot here. So they land and get out of the plane. The air smells wrong. There's no resonance. The footsteps, the air, and the sound are all kind of dead. They go to the security office. The clocks are all stopped at a certain time. Nothing's working. There's like no power. And then Toomey is like having his father flashing back in his head. Stop wasting time! You better get with the program! If you don't move, you better get... You're going to find out what the hell's the big deal with these Langoliers. I might as well talk about it now instead of later. Toomey's dad, the Langoliers. Who are the Langoliers, Daddy? Oh, the Langoliers. They're these things that chase lazy little boys, and they're just hair and teeth, and they will eat you up if you don't get with the program. So that's essentially the plot of the movie right here. If you want to believe it, it's like a myth. It's like a fairy tale. It's a scary fairy tale. And we're basically just betting that if we stick around for 2 nights watching this damn movie for 4 hours, we're going to get some payoff and see what the hell these damn Langoliers are. And it's so scary that Craig Toomey is so terrified about. Because if he doesn't get to Boston to his big meeting, whatever he's supposed to have with the chairman of the board, the Langoliers is going to chew his ass up. All right, so no one else knows or gives a shit about what Langoliers are, but they try some food from the commissary there, one of the places where you pay like $12 for, ham and cheese sandwich. Has no taste. It's like cardboard. And Craig Toomey has a gun. He goes to the security office and he gets a gun. He gets like a revolver. Ooh, I want you to, I will if I have to. I don't want to hurt anyone, but I will if I have to. He starts ranting to himself and ripping his paper. He's biding his time. He's tearing his paper. He's very, very obsessive about that. He was doing it on the plane when they were trying to land. You don't stop that, mister. I swear to God, I'm going to pop you one. Yeah, just try it, you little bastard. It's funny. It's like all stressful. That's like the most action-packed sequence in the whole movie. It's when he's tearing a paper and the plane is hitting turbulence. That was it. That was the excitement. But now he's just tearing paper in a room and nobody could hear it. And there's plenty of paper because it's an office. Should have gone green, man, Then he would have had to found some other outlet because he is a threat. He's dangerous. Okay, so they taste some soda and the soda's flat. And of course, Dean Stockwell is thinking. You can hear the gears turning in his head. Oh, we love Dean Stockwell, right? Isn't he great? Quantum Leap. He's in Dune, the 84 Dune, the good Dune, the original, well, the bad good Dune that I love, Dr. Yui. He's in To Live and Die in L.A., Blue Velvet, did a great role on Battlestar Galactica, the reboot. He was a Cylon. I was going to say Klingon. Almost said Klingon there. He was a Cylon, but he was really good in that. And he wasn't one of those, he actually talked. He was actually Dean Stockwell being the way Dean Stockwell really is. A good actor there. So he's deducing, with his writerly wisdom there. He's very, very literate and erudite. He figures out what's going on. We have traveled a ridiculously short distance back in time, where everything has all the significance of a dried out paint can. You gonna put that in your next novel there? I love it. It should be a bestseller in no time. All right, so he's explaining to them that they've all traveled back in time a tiny, tiny bit, just a few moments in the future. Everything is going on, but right here in this time frame that they're in, everything is already passed on, and the flavors and sounds and lights and everything's all muted. It's pretty clever. I kind of like it. It's cool and it's interesting. But then what comes later on, the follow-up to this all, like what happens then when the time is left behind and it becomes too old, like when time is just sitting around and it's becoming the past. Where does the past go? Well, the past gets consumed, conveniently eaten up by the Langoliers, which we're going to see tomorrow night. So when you're watching the first night of the show, you're not going to know what the hell the Langoliers are, but you hear something. Dinah is like, I hear something. Because being blind, her other senses are accentuated somewhat. So she hears like the sound in the background. What do you hear, Dinah?
It sounds like the sound that the Rice Krispies make when you put the milk in.
Oh, you mean like Snap, Crackle, Pop? Wow, I love Rice Krispies. But I bet you if you had Rice Krispies now in this airport, they wouldn't do any snapping, crackling, or popping. They would just be like soggy shit that tastes horrible. Well, nobody tried that. Yeah, they didn't find any cereal behind the... But they should have, right? Because then you could mess with each other's head. You could, like, pour some milk in and hold it up to somebody's ear. The Langoliers are coming! Oh, fuck you. But no, it wouldn't work. The Krispies wouldn't be crispy at all, I bet. Yeah, too bad. Because if the Rice Krispies are even like a few seconds in the past from our timeline, they won't taste good at all. Unlike wine. Now, like if you had a bottle of wine in the Langoliers, right? You go like to the bar at the airport, you open up a bottle of wine. It might be aged perfectly, or it might just be like you just took the cork out. I don't know. But I would try that first. Screw the sandwiches. Nobody wants slightly old meat and salami and bologna. You want it to be fresh, of course. But wine, sometimes fresh young wine is not good. And you should probably drink a few bottles before you watch this stupid movie. Just a suggestion. So eventually, at some point, Craig Toomey is going to be threatening everybody, takes his gun out, and he tries to shoot Albert. That's the kid's name, Albert. Yeah, Albert, the musician. But the bullet had no force. Even though you had like a little pop, he's not dead. Craig Toomey gets bonked with a toaster inside a sheet. That's like the weapons they come up with. They got a toaster, because, you're not going to make any good toast around here. This crappy past toast and butter. It tastes like the past already, so... it's no good. And then they tie up Bronson Pinchot so he can't do any more overacting. Mine, Mr. Timmy. Mine, Mr. Timmy. Okay, jolly good. Nick is trying to be the one who makes all the plans. Nick Hopewell, the Brit guy. What do you suppose we should do here, Brian? I don't know. I guess we should try to get another plane. There's all these stupid ideas they're trying to come up with because they're all idiots. And even the writer is supposed to be so damn intelligent, but he keeps holding out like, come on out with it. What's the deal, Bob? What are we going to do? Write something for us. Write something better than this fucking screenplay. Alright, so Toomey is all tied up, and then Dinah, the girl, goes up to him like,
What are you so afraid of, Mr. Toomey?
she sees through his eyes somehow, like, we all look like monsters to him. Well, something better look like a monster in this movie. It's a Stephen King. It's supposed to be scary. Scare us already. All we hear is Rice Krispies. I'm not scared of those things. I mean, Pop Rocks would be scary. That's some loud snap, crackle, popping, like little bits of dynamite in your tongue. I bet if you put Pop Rocks in your mouth, if you remember Pop Rocks, right? Oh gosh, man. Even the Langoliers, they would be just like salt, I guess. I don't know. They wouldn't do anything. Anyways, enough about the candy and the Rice Krispies that are coming to kill us. So Toomey explains to Langoliers, well, little girl, you see, the Langoliers go after lazy little boys, and my father always made sure I wasn't a lazy little boy. Going around wasting time scampering. He loved that word, scampering. It means mindless, directionless, pointless movement. So Craig Toomey, eventually gets out of his ropes, or whatever they are. They're like those big fat ropes that he used to tie off the lanes when you're waiting to check in. So they're not really easy to tie, and he just gets out of them. He gets a butter knife or something from the kitchen there, and he stabs Dinah and snaps it out from the handle, and the blade is still in her. Frankie face on gets stabbed, and he dies, unfortunately. Don't kill him. We need him. Even though Dinah's bleeding out. He just stabbed you, love. What do you mean, leave him alive?
Don't you kill him. We need him.
Dinah has some psychic premonition or knowledge that the rest of us don't, not even the writer. So they're going to refuel his damn plane. Matches won't light, soda won't fizz, fuel won't burn. They figure out that the plane that they arrived in is still carrying some of their present time with it, right? So they go into the plane with like a flat can of soda, or root beer, whatever the hell it is, and then suddenly bubbles start rising up. The carbon's coming back, and then Albert tastes it. The root beer is very good today. And they're all happy. All right. So they gotta get the shitty fuel from this airport, and when the shitty fuel goes into the good plane makes the fuel good. And it'll fly then. Just don't let the good time out. Keep the door shut. Pressurize that shit. Don't let the good time leak out. It really doesn't make a lot of sense, but it does. It's very, very clever. It's brilliant, really, I think. They fuel the plane up. The Rice Krispies are getting louder outside. They think the plane is just about ready to go, and they're getting it ready on the runway, and they gotta get Dinah on a stretcher there. They bring her on the plane, and she's still bleeding, but she's telepathically talking to Craig. Instead of his dad going, Craigie Wiggy, she's going, Craig Toomey. She can't pronounce his name the right way. She keeps going, Craig, go outside. They're all here. They all came to see you. The meeting. They were so worried about, are they really here? Did you really bring them here? The reason he stabbed Dinah is because his paranoia was making him think, she's the head Langolier. So Dinah is luring Craig to go out onto the runway, away from the plane, go away from the plane. What the hell is he doing? But that's right. As long as he lures him away from the plane, they could all escape. All right, so when these Rice Krispies start getting really, really loud, come on, we gotta go. And they look off into the distance, and he these power cables and towers start toppling and some really ominous shit's going on. The trees are rustling. The suspense is really building up at this point. Like, well, holy shit, I'm really glad I stuck around for the second night of this movie to watch it and see the Langoliers when they finally appear. So Craig goes to his board meeting, and suddenly there's a big table in the middle of the runway. There's nothing else there. There's a big table with a bunch of people sitting at it, and at the head of the table is like the CEO, which is played by Stephen King himself.
Craig, so glad you could make it.
Welcome to the ending of the movie. Yes, it's gonna suck. I finally got here. I took $43 million and I lost it on purpose. He's yelling, and King looks very disappointed, much like we are after we finish the last few pages of one of his books. That's a big King cameo. Then all of a sudden everything disappears, and he's just looking around like, Daddy, where am I? He got fooled. Ha ha ha. You've been bamboozled, I guess there, Craig. So, he's standing out there, and then we see these little things moving across the ground, and black lines are popping out behind them. What the hell is that? It's like somebody's erasing stuff with a little tiny eraser, and all these things zipping around, and then these fur balls with teeth. And we finally get to see them close up later on. They look terrible, okay? These special effects are piss poor garbage. Horrible. Not even as good like as an animated cartoon. But these are our Langoliers that we were waiting so long to see. And they're like chewing things up, and things disappear and vanish into nothingness. And they're starting to chew into the ground and the concrete vanish, and there's like black space beneath it, like a void of nothing. So the writer there, Dean Stockwell's like, so there they are, the timekeepers of eternity, getting rid of time in the most efficient way possible by eating it. Yeah, we're eating it too, watching this freaking movie. The Langoliers are essentially Pac-Man, and about as scary. Yeah, it's like Pac-Man. Pac-Man maybe grew his hair out, went feral, razor-sharp teeth, but Pac-Man nonetheless, and being chased around by a bunch of little yellow circles would probably be a little bit more terrifying than the damn shit we're watching in the Langoliers. In fact, giant Pac-Man chasing after you like it did in Pixels, that Adam Sandler movie, that was pretty exciting and pulse-pounding. If one of those crappy CGI Langoliers was after Adam Sandler, he would turn around like, oh, come on, you gotta be kidding me, really? Adam Sandler could have been Craig Toomey. That would have been, if they do a remake, make Adam Sandler Craig Toomey. Alright, so they're eating away at everything and it's disappearing, and Craig Toomey is standing out there. And they all stop short, and they start making a beeline for Craig. They do look like a swarm of bees, actually, although bees look more real. So the Langoliers start going after Craig, and he starts running, and he runs past everybody, and then he hears his father in his mind. Run, Craig, run! Wait, you're not running, you're scampering! I wish someone would come take me away! Damn it, Elliot, you're an actor, now act, motherfucker! And he's running, and the Langoliers finally come, and they zip off camera, of course, below his waist. You could see something happens, and he falls down. They bit his legs off or something, but we don't see this because budget restrictions or whatever. Movie just has to keep sucking. We don't see what the fuck happens to his legs, but he's probably gotten chewed off. He can't run anymore. And then these two Langoliers hover right over him. They make these motor noises. The teeth are clacking. They look really bad close up. They should have kept them far away. And they could have been hand puppets, man. It would have been much better. I think they wanted to do hand puppets and they didn't. Shoulda. Could use sock puppets or something. Muppets, Jim Henson, anything would have been creepier than that. Alright, so anyway, the Langoliers get him, and then the plane's trying to take off, and they're flying, and these Langoliers are flying up along the window, scaring the crap out of us. Don't look out! There's something on the wing! And they're chasing the plane, and the runway is getting eaten right in front of them, and they go through a couple of holes, and thank God the plane doesn't fall in, but they keep chewing and chewing away, and the swarm is getting bigger and bigger. There's a million of them coming out, and very, very quick editing helps us not see how bad they look, but they look bad. Oh my God, yeah. The plane finally takes off, and this big chunk of the runway falls off, and they look behind, and they see all of these pieces falling, and whatever's left of the airport and the ground just falls, disappears black, and it's gone, and there's nothing left at all. And that's a pretty neat visual, I gotta say. I was really hoping to see something impressive that sticks in your head like that, and it was good. Just, better special effects would have really helped. I don't know who to blame for that, but yeah, nice try. This movie could have been something if the special effects did not just blow towards the end there. So we gotta figure out how the hell we get back. How do we get back? They're flying, Bethany and Albert finally kiss. Dinah is about to die there.
It's okay, Laurel. I saw everyone through his eyes, and you're beautiful.
And then she dies. The piano music is playing. We're supposed to cry. Oh, God, thank God. This annoying character shit. Whatever. Now she'll never say Craig again. They have to figure out how the hell to get back safely. They realize that there was this aurora borealis, okay? This is some hokey sci-fi Twilight Zone shit, but there was an aurora borealis, or black hole, or whatever the hell it is, that they flew through before, so they have to fly back through it, and they find the coordinates, they retrace their path. At least they have a computer on the plane that knows the flight tracking and the direction and the compass coordinates, and everything is good, so they can go back the way they came, exactly. Maybe a little bit late, but they go back, or maybe early, depending on the time. They're gonna fly back, and right before they fly through, Dean Stock was like, no wait, something is wrong. Something's not, this ending's gonna suck. Hold on, wait, what is it? I don't know, my boy. What's wrong? Oh my God, hold on. Stop, turn around, turn around. They see the aurora borealis in front of them. It's very beautiful, nice, pretty special effect. Trying to make up for what the Langoliers look like. Hairy pieces of turd with teeth in them. You know, at least this is like a nice, colorful, kaleidoscopic rainbow. Like a bunch of lava lamps all spilled out into space. All different colors. It's very beautiful. So they're about to fly through it. No, turn around. So they turn off just at the last second. There's a lot of turbulence, shaking and shaking. And what the hell's wrong? Why do we turn back? Everybody on this plane who was awake disappeared. We're still awake. If we fly through that thing, we're gonna disappear too. Or some logic like that. Oh my God, so what do you do? So they all gotta be asleep. Except, how are you gonna have a sleeping pilot? Somebody's gonna sacrifice himself, right, to disappear. So it turns out to be Nick Hopewell, the Brit, you know. Like he's gonna sacrifice himself because I've done a lot of things in my life that I like to set right, and maybe this will make some atonement for it, eh? Alright, so tell me what to do. How do you fly this thing? So he learns how to, I think he knows how to fly a plane. He's with MI6, for God's sake. He's probably like James Bond's understudy. So he gets in the cockpit there, and he tells Laurel, if you ever go to bloody England, right, you go to the high street and ask for Mr. Hopewell. Some people still call him the gaffer. And tell him I tried to quit, and it was about the daisies, alright? Okay, so you want me to get high in London and go to Mr. Hopewell and bring him daisies? Oh, bloody hell. Whatever fuck it is, yeah, it's good enough. So yeah, so they have a little kiss and bye-bye, and then, we think it's all done with. She comes back again, and she recites it perfectly. I'm to tell him that you were gonna quit, and blah, blah, blah. And if he doesn't listen to me, I'm to remind him about the daisies. That's right as rain, love. Alright, come on, I've met better birds than you in pubs, alright? The fuck out, sod off, come on. Got a mission to do, my last mission. Alright, so she gets the hell out of there, sits down, straps in. They lower the cabin pressure so everybody passes out, even the captain. But they have to time it so he can wake his ass back up before they crash. So they go through the aurora borealis, and Nick's like, it's bloody beautiful, mate. It's like fucking Oasis reunion. And then he just disappears. Ping, ping, whatever his pins are that were inside him fall, his watch, his fancy James Bond gadgets that Q made for him, they fall down on the floor. And then Brian wakes up. Oh, okay. And then, guess what? We're out of fuel. I don't know. Maybe if the fuel was asleep, it would have worked. But nah, maybe the fuel was awake and the fuel disappeared or whatever. Now they can't fucking land. They're going to make a very, very emergency crash landing. So anywho, they land, they get there in one piece, they're at LAX, the airport is deserted. We did it all for nothing. Look at it. Dinah is dead. Look at it. Nothing. They go inside, they go into the terminal, and we're really depressed. Like, this sucks, man. All this for nothing. But then they start hearing things, and it doesn't sound like Rice Krispies this time. It sounds like, I don't know, rice people, or just people chatting, people talking and shit, and like lights and things start blurring, and she taps her heels on the floor, like, listen. You could hear it. There's a little bit of an echo, even though she's wearing flats. And then you start seeing all these blurs of people. Let's get against the wall. I have a feeling something's going to happen. And then all these people start coming into focus. This big jumble of sound and sight. And then everything just appears. The time is catching up to itself, or whatever their damn explanation is. And they're just standing against the wall, and some little kid is looking, and then the little kid sees them appear, like out of thin air. New people. What? Kid. So they show up. Is that who we are? We're the new people. And then she starts making all these dorky-ass things like, daisies! It's about daisies! And everyone's all friendly and smiling and reminiscing about their little adventure, and they skip off into the damn customs or the baggage check where they have to stand in line for an hour. Who knows? It's just, the ending is okay. The music is pretty. I mean, there's some decent music in here, but, geez, I don't know. What can I tell you? It's a good movie that I really like. It just suffered from those crappy-ass special effects. So now that it's over, I could just say one or two things more about it before we sign off here. The Langoliers, it must have made an impression on somebody, because in 2021, there was this experimental film called The Timekeepers of Eternity, made by some Greek director, who painstakingly printed out or drew frames and frames and frames of the Langoliers, and then did a paper collage animation, reworking the storyline and condensing it down to a tolerable length, and just focusing on Craig Toomey and all of his obsessions with the Langoliers, and everything's on paper now. So it's kind of like all the papers that Craig Toomey was ripping, they are these scenes or something. I don't really know. I haven't seen it, but it looks very interesting, and it's only an hour, and I think it's probably even better than the Langoliers. Just I have to find a way to watch it at some point, so I will when I can. But otherwise, you got 3 hours to kill, and you want to watch the Langoliers, be my guest. Go right ahead. Spring for more legroom if you can, and just don't waste time. Don't scamper. All right, so I'm going to scamper the hell out of here. I've been on this podcast for a very long time, and so have you, and thanks so much for joining me for this little Stephen King Idiot Box TV collection. I'm glad we did it, and these were 2 really guilty pleasure, crappy movies that I love anyway, and I just wanted to talk about them, so thank you for listening to them, and I hope my ending is a little bit better than your typical King one, and we'll catch you all next time on Missing Real. Bye. Yeah, that was pretty good, I gotta say. Time to just, chill out and relax after this intensive... Little privacy, please? You mind? Oh, I got a Bronson Pinchot trivia for whatever it's worth. I used to go to this really great steakhouse in Manhattan, not open anymore, unfortunately, but this place, Maloney and Porcelli, used to serve a steak dish called the Bronson Pinchot, and it came along with this really delicious sauce that they would prepare tableside and then light it on fire, and poof, there it is, and delicious. I'm not really sure. Maybe it was his recipe. Maybe he came in there one day. He said, I ordered a steak with a really flaming sauce, and a steak with a really flaming sauce is what I like to eat.